Good morning. But it's been such a long night. Good evening. No, not even good evening, is it? Good afternoon. See, that's when you're not had any sleep on. Actually, be partying. Good afternoon and welcome back to All for United. This is the Pride of All Europe podcast. Before we get started, I want, on a serious note, Mark, I know you've been watching, mate. I wish you a speedy recovery. I hope you feel better soon, pal. Because it was supposed to be Mark that was presenting, and I was supposed to be a guest along with Stu, along with Charlie. But unfortunately, Mark's not feeling too well at the minute. So hope you get well soon, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, we're in our first Euro semi-final since 1996, boys. How are we feeling?
Absolutely buzzing. I mean, last night we absolutely left Ukraine on their knees. Literally left them on their knees. We were, do you know, it was one of those games where we were at it from the first whistle, which is unlike England. We didn't start off quite lethargic, quite slow, but we're at it from the first whistle. And I felt like the players really wanted it, really wanted to take the game by the scruff of the neck early doors and almost go for the knockout punch. And me and the lads were talking that we did have quite a dodgy-ish spell after about 10 minutes after we got the first goal, and we couldn't retain possession. And I think on another day, the striker, I think it was it Lomachenko who popped his shot wide, he kind of spun off his outside of his boot. On another day, if that had gone in, they might have made the game interesting for a few minutes. But ultimately, I mean, I can't fucking believe I'm saying it, really. But ultimately, we absolutely battered Ukraine. When you look at our quality possession, not our overall possession, but our quality possession, and the intricacies of our passing, the intricacies of the runs off the ball, the sheer workmanship, and that from Rice and Phillips, the guile, which is brilliant to see. It was great to see Sancho on the pitch, and I just thought he made a real difference. I thought he added a real dimension to England that we were missing. And of course, if you were Jackie Grealish, you'd be wondering why I'm not starting a game of football. But I think Southgate was vindicated in his team selection yesterday, and I've got a little bit more, or can add a little bit more, or could offer a little bit more credit to him and the players. We're starting to see Harry Kane again. He's freed Harry Kane up. I thought Maguire was excellent again. I thought Stones was good. I thought overall, it's as good as a performance that I've seen from England in the last 18 months. I'm not talking about this tournament. I'm talking about the last 18 months in terms of our fluency and our overall play. And it's nice to see we went out there with an objective. I know the objective is always to win a game of football, but, that's not always the case. But we actually went out there with an objective to get to the semi-final, pitch ourselves against what is undoubtedly going to be an extremely difficult game against Denmark, and then play Italy in the final. So all in all, buzzing. My throat's gone. Too much shouting, too much singing, too much beer. But you know what? Bring it on.
All worth it, though, Stu. All worth it, my friend.
Absolutely. Right. Got Lucozade this morning. I need it.
Lucozade this morning because you need it. Always the best cure. That'll the old water, mate. Anyway, Charlie, can we dream, mate? Can we dream? Can dreams come true? Finally, that England, in our lifetime, could win a major tournament. Unfortunately, we were me and yourself included, weren't around in 1966. We didn't get that buzz of winning a tournament on home soil.
I wasn't either. Let me put that out.
I know he wasn't either, Stu. I know, but
I'm just saying. I'm
I'm trying to say for the younger generation, Stu.
I'm in that bracket now, you.
But anyway, as I was saying, can we dream? Finally, can we dare to dream? Because every time we've dreamed in the past, something has shattered our dreams. Can it finally come true? Is football really coming home?
If England play with the with the way they played last night against Germany, and with the discipline that they played with in the semi-final and the final. Of course, they've got a chance. Southgate, I've given him a lot of stick. A lot of people have given him a lot of stick in the past, but everything's starting to come together for England. I mean, the way he's managing this squad. There's been a lot of issues that he's had to sort out. Harry Maguire was injured. Do you bring him back in? When do you bring him back in? He brought him back in. It looks like he brought him back in at the right time. For Mings, he's been fantastic. Maguire. You look at Harry Kane. Even I was one of his critics. I said, does he really deserve to start? He's stuck by Harry Kane, and he's proven why he's stuck with him now. Raheem Sterling had not an awful season, a poor season on his standards at Man City, but he trusted him. He's kept with him. He's played him, and he's been arguably England's most important player. And Jack Grealish, the amount of pressure that he's been under to play Jack Grealish, and he's refrained from that. He's rejected that play. He's saying, no, I'm not going to start him. I'm going to bring him on when I need him. And the games that he has brought him on when he's needed him, he's brought him on at the right time. He made the impact. So he's got a lot of decisions right so far, Southgate. So I think he deserves a lot of credit. Last night was exceptional. I think the two most important goals were the first and the second goal. I think because of the times they were scored. I think playing in Rome without as much support that we had at Wembley, I think getting an early goal was crucial for England, absolutely crucial. And then that second goal just after half time was incredibly important. I was watching it with my mom actually. I said to her, if I've got a funny feeling, if we don't come out well in the second half, Ukraine, they'll gain momentum. We cannot just sit back as soon as we come out in the second half and let Ukraine come on to us, which we have done against Croatia and the Czech Republic when we went 1-0 up. And we learned from that against Germany, and we went for the second goal, and we learned from that, again, came out fighting the second half straight away and got the second goal, which more or less killed the game off because you couldn't really see Ukraine scoring 2 goals. Fantastic. The discipline really is exceptional. Now 5 clean sheets in a row in the tournament. I think it's something like 7 or 8 clean sheets in all, in a row now in all competitions. The discipline of the whole team is exceptional, really. Mason Mount and Raheem Sterling, there was countless times where the defensive work rate that they showed to get back, win the ball back, where there wasn't really a right for them to get that ball. In the first half, Mason Mount ran all the way back to the England box to put a block in when Ukraine had a chance to shoot. And that just shows the discipline that Gareth Southgate's got this team. This team is showing great discipline. They're fighting for everything. Gareth Southgate saying, I don't care how good you are going forward, you're going to have to work back and do your defensive jobs, and they're all doing it. Sancho in the first half was good. I thought he had a really, really good move, especially when he ran inside. Second half he wasn't so bright, but you still think he had a good performance. Luke Shaw was the man of the match, I thought. Again, just his turnaround is just incredible. And I said on Twitter, if there's any player in the world that deserves to win a trophy this season that hasn't won one yet, it's Luke Shaw. Yeah. He deserves to win a trophy. Harry Maguire as well, the way he's, since that Greece incident, the £80 million that we spent on him, the amount of hate he's got, lack of pace, he had all this thrown at him, and the way that he's reacted to all that, fantastic. And Harry Kane as well, you have to give him credit. We all know his ability, Harry Kane. I think he had questions, me included. I questioned him in the big moments. In big games, at times he hasn't turned up for Spurs. In finals, he hasn't turned up. Obviously, the whole Spurs team hasn't turned up as well. But Harry Kane at times hasn't turned up when they needed him. And I wasn't quite sure about world class with Harry Kane because his goal scoring is fantastic. His goal scoring is unbelievable. Also, his link-up play, the way he can pass a ball as well. It's not just the goals he scores, but to reach that world-class level, I felt that Harry Kane needed to maybe win a trophy, maybe just go to that bit, score in a final, score the winning goal, just producing those big moments to just make him up to a here rather than a here player. And last night, he was fantastic. And we need that again from him against Denmark and Italy. If England have got a chance, we need a moment of magic from him again. So yeah, fantastic win. Really, really likable at the moment, this England team. Jordan Henderson. I was delighted for him. I know he plays for Liverpool, but you could see the passion. This team they just look so resolute. Jordan Henderson got his first England goal. You saw the way he celebrated. It's just everything seems to be going right for England. And whether it'll all come tumbling down on Wednesday night, we don't know. But at the moment, so far, I don't think England could have been much better in this tournament in terms of, the way they've acted, the players' professionalism, the manager's decisions at times. I've questioned him. I think every single England fan, maybe other than Gary Neville, has questioned him so far. But he's doing the job. So let's give him a bit of credit.
Absolutely. And you are right, though. England, for the first time in their history, has kept 7 consecutive clean sheets, which, for a backline that was missing Harry Maguire at the start of the tournament, we weren't so sure when he'd be able to play because the injury that picked up for United. It's been amazing. I think Luke Shaw, as you said, Sky gave him their man of the match as well. I don't know who got the star player of the match, or whatever they call it in the Euros. I'm not sure who picked that one up, but for me, Luke Shaw, as somebody said in the comments, 10 out of 10 there as well. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. Stu, I know that you love the art of defending.
Yeah.
What do you make of England's defence so far this tournament? Still yet to concede a goal.
Yeah.
This is very unlike England. This is not the England that I know. What's going on?
Look, I think it's fair to say that we haven't really faced a striker of any note that you would consider worthy enough. For example, we haven't been anywhere near an Insignia at all, or an Immobile. I was going to say Morata, but probably not so much. But we haven't been against Griezmann or an Mbappe. I know these players that haven't had great tournaments, but we haven't faced them. We haven't faced a Lukaku. We haven't faced anyone of real note in front of goal. But what I will say is that since Maguire's come back in, and I kind of echo really what Charlie said a couple of weeks ago, the very first round of matches, that that Mings was quite solid when the first 2 games that he played, and he could probably feel a little bit unfortunate to be out the side. But since Maguire's come back in, we do look a lot more solid. There appears to be a lot more communication between the back four. The fullbacks advance at the right times and then are back in position at the right times for their defensive duties. I think we're very, very clever as a team at the moment. Declan Rice offers, whether people like him or not, he offers a screen, a very, very, very good screen. And we've spoken about this on many occasions. My only fear, for want of the better word, is Pickford between the posts. Because in the first half of yesterday's game, he had a bit of a weak shot, which he parried, kind of like got his feet wrong, or he got his hands wrong, and he put it behind for a corner. And he's got, unfortunately, Pickford's potentially got that rick in him, which in a tight game, which I think will be with Denmark, it could be costly. But I think what you're going to see with the likes of Denmark is they're very, very industrious. They're very clever and cute with the way they attack and the way their attackers getting behind defenders. And I think we're going to have to really be on our A game when we play Denmark, because I think they're going to be quite dangerous. So I suppose all in all, I agree. The stats are there. I'm not a stat fan, as you know, Ben, but the stats are there about us not conceding. But I just think it's, we haven't really played against a striker of any note. So it'll be interesting to see how we cope against Denmark. I'm sorry, it's not the answer, but I think it needs to be mentioned.
No, I think that's spot on. We are right. We haven't faced any striker of real note, any world class forward that you could potentially say. But I think the Danish will definitely put us under some serious pressure. Charlie,
their 2 goals yesterday were proper goals. They were dug out. They were dug out nice. The first cross and the header. I love stuff like that anyway. That's proper centre forward play for me. It's sublime. And they're very quick in their attack. And to be fair to Denmark, once they got 2 up, I think they knew they'd won the game. I thought they knew they couldn't be hurt. They conceded, but I think they knew they'd won the game, and I thought that they played within themselves for the remainder of that match. So, semi-final, European Championships. You're going to have two bulls going at it, two sets of horns smacking against each other. It could well come down to one chance, one goal. It really could be that fine line of you get that one chance, you got to put it between the posts, otherwise you never know. And so we will see. We will see. Pickford's my biggest worry. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that one.
Well,
my biggest worry.
Sorry, Joe. I was going to come to Charlie on Pickford actually, because he did fluff that kick as well.
Yes,
which we luckily got away with. From an England point of view. To be fair though, for some reason, it is absolutely shocking for Everton, but for England, he turns into a really decent goalkeeper. All right, yes, he still has that certain mistake in him and certain moments of madness, but is it an inheritance of England goalkeepers? We used to have Calamity James, we've had Rob Green that's chucked in his own net before. David Seaman's been lobbed, but then again, I think David Seaman was past his prime by that time, by Ronaldinho's cross-come shot. What we made of Jordan Pickford, I mean, let's give him credit though. He is part of the reason why England have had 7 consecutive clean sheets for the first time in their history. Yeah. Are we being a little bit over too critical on him, or is the criticism justified in terms of Jordan Pickford?
Well, I think, particularly against Scotland, I thought Jordan Pickford, when we played Scotland, that was a bit of a drab affair, wasn't it, that Scotland game? And Jordan Pickford actually saved England on a couple of occasions. But the thing with Jordan Pickford, I always find is when moments get, let's say, when games get more intense, and when sort of the team is, you can see the team is getting towards the latter stages of a game or the latter stages of a tournament, he seems to get a bit more fired up, and that I don't think that's a particularly good thing for Jordan Pickford. You even see when he kicks the ball up the field, he sort of does a massive run up as if he's quite unconventional, Jordan Pickford. And Stu is right, he was a bit shaky, and he's one of those players where he gets a bit fired up sometimes, and he gets a bit maybe carried away, and he gets a bit too maybe overconfident, perhaps, and he does a few rash things, and I just hope that he can keep his concentration for the next 2 games, because as a goalkeeper, in all fairness, he hasn't had that much to do so far. I know he's made a few good saves. He's made a few good saves against Germany, in particular, with Havertz's half volley, I think it was. He made a few good saves in that game. But as a goalkeeper, when you've not got much to do, goalkeepers don't like that. Goalkeepers, when they haven't touched the ball for half an hour and made a save for half an hour, and then they're asked to come out off their line, the concentration might not quite be there. And I think that could be a problem for England. You saw against Ukraine yesterday. I don't think Jordan Pickford yesterday made one save of note. I don't know if anyone else remembers. I think he made a couple of. He made a couple of he just had to dive down to his right to collect the ball. It was very, very simple. And when you're in a game like that, where as a goalkeeper you haven't got much to do, and then you're asked to do something a bit more difficult, and your concentration isn't quite there, that can be a problem. And I do worry that is definitely a worry. Jordan Pickford is definitely a worry. But so far, he hasn't really done anything particularly awful. But as I said, when moments get tougher, when games get, when opposition gets tougher, when a team needs a goalkeeper to be calm, collective, and give their defence insurance, I'm not quite sure Jordan Pickford is that man. And what we don't want to see is Jordan Pickford in the Denmark game have a shaky start, because so far this defence has been very, very good. And, that's down to Jordan Pickford as well. He's been very, very calm and collective. But at the end of that Ukraine game, I think Gareth Southgate will look at that, as every manager does, as Stu said before, be a bad winner. I think Gareth Southgate will look at that, and he'll need to speak to Jordan Pickford and just say, right, you need to just calm down a bit, just keep doing what you're doing before, keep concentrating on your kicks, keep concentrating on your positioning, just keep your concentration. You don't need to do anything out of the extraordinary. We're just expecting you to be there when we need you. And England haven't needed him that much, and they probably won't need him that much against Denmark. As Stu said, I think it'll be quite a tight game. Denmark might get 2 or 3 chances. England might get 2 or 3 chances. And Jordan Pickford will probably be required to make 2 or 3 good saves. And he just needs to keep his cool. Yeah, he just needs to keep his cool. But yeah, we'll see. Denmark, I've said before, I really don't like this Denmark game. I'm very, very nervous for it. Everything's going right for them after the terrible incident that's happened. Poulsen got injured, their striker, and they brought Kasper Dolberg in, scored 2 against Wales and a goal yesterday. So everything's going right for them. The people who are on the players who are on the bench who aren't playing, when they're asked to come on and play, they're doing a job, and they seem a really good unit. The back five, the 3-4-3. It seems to be working well. They've got a few good technical players. They've got Højbjerg in midfield, who's a real warrior and quite a tough player to play against. They've got a very experienced back three. The goalkeeper, Kasper Schmeichel, especially if it goes to penalties, I think that would be tough. He's very, very good. He makes himself so big in goal. He's a real menace. When you're looking to score a goal past Kasper Schmeichel, you're just seeing this huge sort of figure in goal, and he makes himself so big. And I think that could be a worry for England. I just think he hasn't had his best tournament, actually, Kasper Schmeichel, but I just think he's a very, very good goalkeeper. So, yeah, it could be tough, the Denmark game. I think it will be tough. But,
You're right about Schmeichel, because he was left wanting, I felt, with the Czech goal. When you looked at it from behind the goal, he almost dived over it, didn't he? It was very strange. Want to concede that, but let's have faith, shall we? Let's
have faith. As Brian Foskett said earlier, England 2, Denmark 0. Have faith is what he's going with. Ugly Bear, I don't think Ugly Bear's much of an England fan, and he's saying that Lee Grant's better than Jordan Pickford. I don't think that's quite true, mate. But
I love Ugly Bear. His comments are great, aren't they?
Oh, I love him, mate. I love Ugly Bear. So I just wanted to come to Gareth Southgate. Now, I know more than a couple of shows ago we did, when the news broke that no matter how England did in this tournament, the FA were going to offer him a new deal. And the more and more this tournament goes on, and the more and more you see belief in this England side, for me personally, I'm looking back at it. I was thinking last night, when was the last time I really truly saw an England side properly united? And I don't mean united in the way of Manchester United or anything like that. What I meant is united as a team. Because a lot of my time following England around has been with the Golden Generation. And even a lot of the members of the Golden Generation admitted there was fractions within the camp. There's the Chelsea boys with the Chelsea boys, United boys, Liverpool with the Liverpool. What Gareth Southgate's done is he's come in and there's no fractions. It's a togetherness. There's a team spirit there. It doesn't matter who you play for, who you support personally in your personal life. We are England. We're not individuals. We're not cliques. We're not little gangs. We are all England, each and every single one of you. I even like what Gareth, and I'm one of Gareth Southgate's biggest critics, but I like what he came out and said yesterday. I feel sorry for the ones that I can't give game time to, the ones that have to leave out the squad, the ones that that haven't had game minutes at the minute. They're every part of this team, as much as the people that have had game time. And the last real unity that I've seen in England team was probably Euro 96, 25 years ago. Possibly France 98. I might push it to France 98 as well, but that Euro 96 squad had it all for me. Had the team spirit. And like this England side, this current England team, apart from obviously last night we played at Rome, we have majority had home advantage. Were we a bit early to go on maybe criticising the FA for giving Gareth Southgate a possible new deal, depending on, even if he doesn't win the Euros or crashes out at whatever stage of the tournament? Or can you see why the FA, Stu, are so adamant and so keen to give him a new deal?
It's a funny one, really, because when you look at life in general, there's a lot of constants. People buy dogs with their personality. People buy cars with their personality. And football teams play with the manager's personality. And Gareth Southgate is very intelligent. There's no denying that. He's very methodical. He's very analytic in the way that he goes about preparing the team, in the way that he goes about looking at opposition, and the way that we play. And we do play with not a non-gung-ho style of play, because Gareth Southgate as a personality doesn't have that fire within him. He's not got that aggression within him. And so we play very, very similar football. We don't play with any real aggression. I know people will say Calvin Phillips does. Actually, most of his aggression is mistiming of his tackles. There's not actual aggression in the tackle. And so what Southgate has kind of developed, and I also think he's done it the right way, by the way, coming through and working with the FA for a number of years through the the under 21s, etc. And I think he's learned obviously from the senior managers in and around him that have worked within the England setup. He's also got a couple of good coaches on the staff. They're not big name coaches, but he's got some good quality coaches on there. And I think any footballer, when you're in that that dressing room and the manager comes in and you're quiet and you're listening to him, you've got to be able to understand what he's saying. You've got to be able to understand why he's saying it. But then the manager's got to be able to deliver a team talk, or he's got to be able to deliver his tactics in a way that the guys can soak up. And I think he does that. I don't think he gets it right all the time. But as football fans, we never think managers get it right all the time. But he has a set of players around him. There's a couple in there that believe their own press. And he's nipped that straight in the bud. Phil Foden being one. Phil Foden was given at the big one at the beginning of the tournament. And now he's quiet as a mouse. He's not getting game time. He's not starting. Marcus Rashford's another one. Prior to the tournament, he would be a given to start. And I think he's slowly but surely started to bring players down to earth again, for want of a better phrase. And I think now that players have realised that you can't be complacent playing for England, which we've had in the past. Gerrard, Lampard, all these players that were guaranteed to be in the squad. You don't know with Southgate whether you're 100%. There's a couple of players in there that will, but you don't necessarily, a lot of players won't necessarily know whether they're going to be in that squad at any given time. And I like that about it. You should be picked for England on merit, not what you've done in the past and not what your potential is for the future. So I kind of feel that a lot of people would say, well, Southgate isn't the right man. They'll never give you an alternative anyway, because actually right now, today, I'm not sure who would be good enough to take over from Southgate, if I'm being brutally honest with you. I know people will say, well, what about Eddie Howe, Sean Dyche, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm not so sure those are the right types of move. And I think sometimes, and I speak about this all the time, intelligence in football is the real winner. It's not tactics. It's not anything. It's intelligence and desire. And Southgate has this intelligence, and he has this way of delivering this intelligence, which I think works. And it may just take us to the European promised land. potentially the world promised land. I don't know, but I, for one, and I'm not getting carried away with last night, but I, for one, think when you look at the candidates that potentially could be out there, I think we've probably got the right fit of manager for this group of players, and that's always key.
Absolutely. Charlie, on that, if he was to go out in the semi-final against Denmark on Wednesday, is it has he progressed? Has this England side shown progression? Because this was a big talking point on Radio 5 Live's 606 phone-in last night. Chris Sutton was adamant that it does, even if they do go out at the semi-final stage of this competition, that it does mark a great deal of progression. England are getting there, they're getting better, they're getting closer, the team bonds are getting stronger. But then some would argue, well, he fell in the World Cup at the semis as well. So we need a manager that will take us that next level to the final and hopefully to win it. What would your argument be if we was to hypothetically say, if we was to go out to Denmark on Wednesday, is it progression for this England side? Has he done enough to earn that new contract? Because some people would say, listen, 2 semi-finals, he's probably hit his ceiling. He can't take us any further. But what would you say to that?
Well, I think you firstly have to look at what was the objective from England coming into the tournament. That's, when you say as a manager failed or succeeded, it's like the argument we've had with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the argument that I'm fed up of every day on Twitter, because I don't care whichever side's anyone on, I can't seem to bring everybody together to a middle ground. And I think it's similar with Gareth Southgate as well. I think there's some people that, for example, Gary Neville, who perhaps doesn't give Gareth Southgate any criticism, and there's some people that don't give him any praise. And you have to look at what was England's objective coming into the tournament. I think England's objective was to at least get to the semi-final. I think that's quite fair. I think the objective was to get to the semi-final again. But I think when England were given their group, it was an average in terms of difficulty. I would say it was around middle ground in terms of difficulty. You've got Croatia, who knocked us out of the World Cup, and then you've got a Scotland team who obviously are always going to be up to play England. You've got Czech Republic, who are handy themselves. So it was a sort of an average sort of group. And then if you look at the next game that England had to play, we had to play really one of the you would regard as the biggest teams in Europe. And if we would have gone out at that stage, I'm sure that a lot of people would have said he's underachieved. We won that game, and then we've obviously beaten Ukraine, and now we've got the Denmark game. I think at the moment, getting to a semi-final, I think he has probably done what was expected of him. And I think if he were to win the Denmark game, I think he would then receive quite a lot of respect from a lot of people, and people would say he's slightly overachieved. And I think if England were to win the final, I think that he's obviously done a very, very good job. What you have to look at, of course, is the competition. And this Euros, in terms of quality, has been quite poor, I found at times. You've got teams who are supposed to be the best team in the world, for example, Belgium, who were quite average at times. You've got France, who went out. You've got Germany and Portugal, who also went out. Obviously, England knocked Germany out, of course. But if you look at the way this sort of Euros has gone, if England were to lose to Denmark, a lot of people, I think, would say Gareth Southgate should have done better because of the quality of opposition that England have played. In a semi-final of a European competition, you wouldn't expect to be playing Denmark. No disrespect to Denmark. You would expect to be playing sort of a better side, in inverted commas, of course. But as we've said before on this channel, you have to earn the right to play. You have to earn the right to get to a stage of a competition. And you can only play what's in front of you. And I think if Southgate were to beat Denmark, I think he's done a good job. He hasn't done an incredible job. I think he's done a good job. And if he were to win the final, a very, very good job. But if he were to lose to Denmark, I still think this England team has progressed. I think the way he's handled this young squad has been exceptionally good. And I think that England, as we said before, in terms of the group, we've got players in here who have played a Champions League final against each other, Chelsea and Man City players. And if you see the way they play together, you'd think they play for the same club. It's just everybody's so tight and together. I mean, even me as a fan, I'm running around celebrating Jordan Henderson's goal, and he plays for Liverpool. You see what I'm saying? And I'm absolutely delighted for him. And that's what Gareth Southgate's done with this team. It doesn't matter who you support. It doesn't matter whether it's a rival player, a Man City player, a Liverpool player. I'm absolutely delighted to see Jordan Henderson score a goal as equally as I am Luke Shaw or Harry Maguire score a goal for England, just because that's how Southgate has brought this team together. And it's exceptional. It really, really is. And you've got some big characters. As Stu said before, you've got some big characters in that dressing room. You've got a player like Jack Grealish. You've got a Harry Kane. You've got Harry Maguire. And you have to manage that dressing room well, and he's certainly done that. So yeah, I think if England were to lose to Denmark, I still think England are in a better place than they were before. And obviously, we've got the World Cup next year, haven't we? As well. So England have learned so much already. And obviously they'll have some perhaps tougher opposition to play in the World Cup, with obviously teams like Brazil coming in and Argentina and Uruguay and teams like this. So let's see what happens on Wednesday night. But this England team, obviously, I haven't seen England teams from that many generations, but in my generation, this is the most likable England team. This is the most together England team, the most disciplined England team. But at the end of the day, who cares if you don't win? So that is the thing at the end of the day. I don't care how likable this team is, although I love it. I love this England team. If they don't win anything, it doesn't matter. You have to win. That's the whole point of football. You have to win. People say it's a taking part that counts. I think it's a load of rubbish.
Bollocks.
It's a load of rubbish. It's a load of rubbish. This England team on paper is a very good team, but this is the time now. Okay, you're a likable team, you're a group together, but now let's actually see some nasty, gritty sort of performances in the semi-final and the final and get over the line. I think that would just cap it off for England. We're seeing some very nice wins, lots of nice clean sheets. Now I want to see a bit of shithousery, a bit of experience. Can we see some experience? Although this team isn't that experienced, some of these players are playing as if they've been playing at the top level for ages. You look at the way Jack Grealish plays, you think he's been playing at a top level for so long. So let's see it now. Let's really see. We need to go to the next level to beat Italy if we're going to play Italy. So let's see it.
Having said that, do we need to go to the next level to beat Denmark? Because the Danes have been very, very impressive this tournament. And I even said yesterday on social media, I am slightly scared of the Danish team because it's the team that's riding a high wave of emotions. It's a team that is equally as together as the England side is. It's the team that will want to go all out and win it for Christian Eriksen, their teammate. And I think. They're ones to what we've got to be careful on Wednesday night. We've got to be careful. We've got to make sure we don't give them too much respect, but we do respect them as opposition because they are a quality side. In my opinion, that's what I think anyway. Stu, I don't know what you make of the Danes, but for me, this is England and Gareth Southgate's toughest test of his whole tenure, really. And this is probably England's toughest game. I argue for a good number of years because this Danish side is possibly on equal terms with England in terms of, as I said, of team unity and riding that crest of high emotions. Because England were riding that high emotion crest as well with having the tournament in their own backyard. People are starting to believe again. The fans are going to be behind England, obviously, on Wednesday night because we're back at Wembley. But it just seems that both teams have equal strengths. Both teams have great players. A lot of the players we know because they're playing the Premier League week in, week out. What do you make of Denmark, pal? Am I being a bit too over? Am I overhyping them too much? Am I, in saying this is England's toughest test for a number of years?
No, not really. I mean, they're a team that's got to the semi-final of a major tournament, a major European Championships. You don't get there by not beating teams, and so they've done that. So you have to respect them. The other thing about the Danes is, as much as a collective group they have players and managers that listen to each other, and that's been proven in this tournament already. Højbjerg is a leader. He made the tactical change the other night that turned the game in the Danes' favour. It wasn't their coach, it was Højbjerg. He made gestures to the bench, and the bench listened to him, and they changed it, and it became quite an easy win in the end. So you've got players. Look, Ben, I always talk about this, always. I speak about it all the time, about in-game player management. I'm not talking about coaches. I'm talking about in-game player management. Players who have the ability to see and identify changes that they need to make on that pitch at any given time. Okay, and Denmark have that, and that's why they've been very, very difficult to beat, because they've got a group of players that could continuously talking, constantly shifting positions, constantly trying to work out ways to nullify the opposition, and it's proven to be to work so far. Going back to the points that Charlie was making with regards to whether or not we progressed, we have progressed as a nation, but Southgate can only do so much on Wednesday. The players between now and then have really got to decide what they want. It's up to each individual player who takes that pitch on Wednesday night to decide what they want. Have they got the determination, the heart and the spirit to take, to win their personal battles, to command position play during the game, or are they going to be timid and let the occasion overrule them and let Denmark run over us? So they've got that choice. Each player has that choice. Now, when you're in that changing room, if you're not buzzing with excitement, fear, and anger about where you're going to be in 90 minutes time or 120 minutes, whatever it will work out, then you shouldn't be pulling on the shirt of England. And Southgate's got a relatively easy job now, because if I was in that changing room, I would be doing everything I possibly could to get into our players, to get the kind of train of thought that we cannot lose. We must not lose this game of football. We must win. Okay?
Go in cinema.
And if we don't win this game of football, we're going to regret it for the rest of our careers. And you will. And people will talk about, and there's a great deal of similarity between Manchester United and England about losing semi-finals. And a lot of these times, we just haven't turned up as players. And so come Wednesday, you've got to turn up as a player. And you've got to want to bleed. You've got to want to scratch, as Charlie says, fight your way over that line. Because when you cross that white line as a footballer, you're going to war. You're going to war with 11 players, and it's up to you to win that war. And when you come off that white line, you can then take a step back and analyse and see where you were good, where you weren't so good, how we won the game or how we lost the game. But as a player and as a team, Gareth should have a relatively easy job on Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely agree. 100% what you're saying now, Stu. Charlie, have you got anything to add to that, mate?
Yeah, just the thing about the semi-final. I mean, obviously, the loss to Croatia in 2018. Obviously, we started fantastically well with the Trippier free kick, And I think it was individual errors that really cost England. I think it was John Stones, wasn't it? I think made a mistake, and Gareth Southgate is going to have to really sort of get this into the team. The psychology, he needs to say, this is a totally different circumstance. It's a totally different England team. Let's not mess this up again. We need concentration from everybody. You need to focus on your jobs. What is interesting for the Denmark game is Denmark play a back five, a 3-4-3. Will England go back to their back five to match it with Denmark like they did against Germany? It's an interesting sort of analogy. Do you change your formation again to match up with Denmark as England did with Germany's back five? And I honestly think he may go back to that back five and match up with them. And that means that you're going to have to drop sort of a big player. You know, we know what the back five is going to be. We know it's going to be Walker as a right centre back, Stones, Maguire, Shaw, and Trippier as the two wing backs. We know it'll be Phillips and Rice. We know it'll be Sterling and Kane. But who's going to play as that right winger? Will Saka come back in? Will Foden play? Will Sterling go to the right and Grealish play? I highly doubt that. So if we do go back to a back five, he's going to have to drop. He may have to drop Mason Mount.
He will have to. He will have to, Charlie. He'll have no choice. Yeah, he'll have no choice.
So there you go. So I think he will go back to a back five, and I think he'll match up. And then if we get to the final, I think we'll go back to the back four to match up again with Italy or Spain. I think he will match up. And he's proved. I think we talked about this yesterday, Ben, on the show. We talked about Gareth Southgate chopping and changing. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Of course. You want momentum in football, but it's a blessing in disguise, this Gareth Southgate, the amount of different things he can do with this team, the amount of different options he's got, how comfortable England look with a back four and a back five is we have to give Gareth Southgate praise, really, because this England team and the players, of course, as well. Kyle Walker coming in as a right centre-back, completely different role than a right back is, and he looks equally as comfortable, if not more comfortable, as a right centre back there. So fantastic, really, that we've got that option. I think he will go back to a back five, and yet who's going to play on that right wing? Who will play? We know Sterling will play on the left, and he deserves to start again. Obviously, if he's fit, we know the rest of the team pretty much, but who will start on that right wing? He's got a big decision to make. Saka had an injury.
I'd play Sancho. I'd start Sancho again, to be honest.
I don't think he'll play Sancho.
He won't, but I would start it.
Would you? I think if Saka was fit, I'd probably play Bukayo Saka again. I just think he is a man that does his defensive duties very, very well. And I think that again, for discipline, I think he will play Saka if he's fit.
Is he going to be fit or?
I'm not sure, but it's an interesting point, isn't it? I mean, I think that's the only position that's in doubt for that Denmark game.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Jonathan's comments about we're ignoring pressure, expectation. I don't agree with that. Professional footballers, they don't work under pressure. People talk about it all the time, all the time. If you can't go out and do your job at that level of a semi-final of European Championship, don't pull on the shirt. You don't deserve to be in that squad. Although he makes good points, we're not ignoring pressure. I just don't believe there is pressure. I think this is a type of game that if you can't get up for, you can't be excited, you can't find the determination. Take your shirt off, mate, and give it to somebody else.
I think you're spot on there, Stu, to be fair, mate. We're coming to the business end of the tournament now. We're coming into the big, big games. If you haven't got the determination, you ain't got the fight to be a champion. You don't deserve to be there. You don't deserve a shirt on your back. You're absolutely right, mate. And I think far too long we've had, I wouldn't say, because we've had in the past, the players have won titles, won Champions Leagues, they won FA Cups and everything. But for England, I seem to think there's always, even for the golden generation, there's always been that fear factor there.
But they never got on, Ben. They never got on.
No, yeah, exactly, mate. But I just think this group has got the belief, and they've got not just the self belief, but the belief as a team as a whole. As a unit. And I think that's England's biggest strength as a unit. They've got this desire. They've got this will to win. It might not be pretty at times. It might be we're scraping games 1-0. It might not be the best football in the world. But as Sir Alex Ferguson once said, to winning league titles, then 1-0 when your league titles. No matter how bad you're performing, you're getting them 3 points. And it's not the same with England in a way. You know, things are not being pretty early in the tournament. We drew 0-0 with Scotland. We was winning 1-0. We're struggling to score more than a single goal, but we got there. We haven't lost. We haven't conceded a goal. You know, we're getting there. We're getting better and better and better. The tournament's getting on, and that's the good thing about tournament football. You can start off a bit slow, but we still build. It's like building stage, like stepping blocks. You know, as long as we keep on going on to the next level and we keep on going through the gears, I think we'll be all right. But I'm totally with you, Stu. I think if you haven't got the determination, the passion, the pride to fight for your country, to fight for the shirt, to fight for the Three Lions, you shouldn't be playing football at international level. But you know, I think Brian Foskett, he completely agrees with you there, Stu. Spot on, Stu. He's saying, you know, and Jonathan Ball's saying as well, he agrees with you. But footballers are still human. This means a pressure factor and how you deal with it, and positively and negatively. It's ludicrous to say footballers don't have it. You know, but everyone's got their own opinion, pal, haven't they?
The thing is, when you look at life in general, there's pressures on anything that you do, and it's how you handle those pressures. And as a professional footballer, you've got to be able to handle it. Because if you can't play in front of 50,000 people or 1,000 people or 10 people, you know, because you're worried about certain things, you really shouldn't be out there. You know, in training, Roy Keane would used to hate losing training matches. You can't lose a training match, and that's the mentality you have to have. And so, for me, get on with it. Don't worry about it. And go and win that game of football. And I just can't agree with Jonathan on the pressure. I'm sorry, I just can't. There's bigger things out there. At the end of the day, when you strip everything away, right, it's a game of football. That's all it is. It's a game of football. That's you know, pressure is brain surgery or what, you know, whatever. A game of football isn't pressure. And if you can't handle it at this level, it shouldn't be there. But I'm not saying I don't agree with him. I know what you mean, man.
You know, on the point about clean sheets as well, just while we're on with it, this is why Manchester United didn't challenge for the title this last season. You know, Man United, nobody expected us to challenge for the title at the start of the season, but we went top of the league, and I think it was the winner away at Burnley. When we won 1-0, we went top of the league, and I remember we beat Fulham 2-1 away as well. But the main reason why Man United, there's lots of reasons why Man United couldn't stay at the top of that league, but one of the main reasons with Man United not staying at the top of the league was we just didn't keep enough clean sheets. I mean, we played West Brom, Fulham, and Sheffield United 6 times altogether in the season. We only won 3 out of those 6 games against the bottom 3. I mean, it was just, and the main reason for that was we conceded the first goal away at West Brom. We, you know, home to Sheffield United, we lost 2-1. That was the main reason why Man United couldn't challenge for the titles, because we weren't good enough defensively. We were conceding the first goal in way too many games, and that's the reason why Man City ended up going on this fantastic run. The amount of 1-0s, 2-0s they had with that solid defensive base that they had. So that's why England, you know, have really, really deserve some respect. The amount of the resolute nature of this England team with the clean sheets. And I'm a believer. I'm a believer, you have to build from the back. I'm always a believer of that. I don't care how many goals you score. If you keep clean sheets, you don't lose football matches. And the reason why Man United didn't end up challenging for that title, one of the main reasons was, although we had a lot of 0-0 draws against the big teams, granted, we just kept conceding the first goal against these so-called poorer sides. I know we came back in a lot of the games, but eventually, if you're conceding, you cannot concede goals against the likes of West Brom, Sheffield. They're the games you have to get clean sheets. If you're conceding the goals against those poor sides, it's just not sustainable, and that's the main reason why Man United didn't challenge for the title. You know, clean sheets, as Sir Alex said, you know, attack wins your games, defence wins your titles. Yeah. And this is what Man United have got to sort out for the new season. The spine of that team needs to be sorted as soon as possible.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, the interesting thing about playing the lesser teams is there is a lot of complacency. Well, we're only playing Sheffield United. We should quite beat them. And football's never about that. Football is about. I'm just going to repeat myself again. Yeah, but it's about the collective will to win. It really is. You know, if you've got out of 11 players, if you've got 9 players that are willing to absolutely die for you, then it carries you. I wasn't the most technical footballer. My role, when I was playing CDM, it wasn't to be a technical player. It was to spot the danger and sniff it out and get rid of it.
Yeah.
And then the next player that came along that was a danger, it was to sniff it out and get rid of it. When I moved to centre half, it was to make sure that that we were pushing up at the right time. We were set up correctly. We were communicating correctly. We weren't too far away from the goalkeeper. All sorts of other things. By the way, while you're playing the game, okay. So it isn't. While you're playing the game, you've got to think about everything in and around you. And so I wasn't a technical, but I didn't need to be technical. I didn't need to be gifted at that. My gift was to get in, smash a tackle in, win the ball and drop it 3 yards and then step back again and let everyone else above me take the game. That was what I was in that team for when I was at centre half. It was to completely disrupt the centre forwards, communicate and get everybody together. That's the thing about building, as Charlie says, building from the back. And I guess and Jonathan, you're absolutely right, mate. Total respect to you. Thank you for that. Total respect to you back. But when you're playing the game, the last thing you should be worried about is what anyone else is thinking about you. You should be concentrating on your game. I take the point about penalties. I hated penalties. I used to go as white as a ghost, really, literally white. I would have to turn my back. I couldn't look at the goalkeeper. Because, and I get the pressure side of that. I fully understand that. I get that. But the overall game, for me, you've got to concentrate on what you do. Because as long as you do your job, you'll affect the whole system eventually. And that's how I see it. So,
yeah. Keeper with Man United. I'll come to you first, Charlie, on Jadon Sancho's performance there. I know you touched upon it a little bit earlier on. What do you make of it overall, anyway, Jadon Sancho? And are United fans right to be so excited about this signing? Because it did look like he had a really decent game yesterday.
Yeah, especially I thought the first half. I think I said before, though, don't be too surprised. You'd have to come inside to get involved because on the England right-hand side, Kyle Walker is strictly told to sit. And that's been a ploy from Southgate throughout the whole tournament. Luke Shaw's been allowed to go forward, but Kyle Walker has to sit. A little bit similar to Italy. Spinazzola, I hope he recovers well. He's obviously out now for the rest of the Euros, but Spinazzola was allowed to roam forward and then they formed a back three with the 2 centre-backs and the right back. And that's exactly what England did, and not so much forming a back three, but Kyle Walker was told to sit. So I said, Jadon Sancho might not get that much support up there unless he cuts inside. And actually, when Jadon Sancho did cut inside, he went on that fantastic pass and move run. I think it was with Mason Mount and Kane. That's when he got involved. And I haven't watched that much of Sancho because I don't watch the Bundesliga that much because I think most leagues are not so. I just think they're inferior to the Premier League. I just think the Premier League is the best division to watch. Maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I haven't watched the Bundesliga that much, and I hadn't watched Sancho that much. Obviously, you see videos going around on Twitter, but these compilations are all rubbish. They don't show any weaknesses. But Sancho, I knew he was a good player, but he looked a real good player yesterday. Even his defensive work at times to get back and make a tackle, the work rate he showed. But what people need to understand is that Jadon Sancho is going to come into a Manchester United team. He's going to have Aaron Wan-Bissaka behind him. Now that is a positive and a negative. A positive in that if Jadon Sancho doesn't track back, we've got one of the best one-on-one defenders in the world in Aaron Wan-Bissaka. But Aaron Wan-Bissaka, we know, although he's improved going forward, has been poor going forward. He's not a good footballer going forward, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and we know that. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to have to try and work a way that Jadon Sancho can get into the game and can get enough support on that right-hand side. And especially as well with Bruno Fernandes almost playing as a number 9 at times. I think we need to work on that a little bit in terms of the team shape, definitely going into next season. But yeah, definitely be excited about Sancho. I'm a bit fed up of Twitter in terms of, I think loads of rival fans were waiting to criticise him yesterday. You know what Twitter's like nowadays. If Bruno has a bad game, everyone goes mad. If Kevin De Bruyne has a bad game, all the rival fans go mad, and that's what Twitter's like. But fortunately, he had a good game yesterday, so he didn't get too much stick. But yeah, I'm not getting too carried away with him because it's a different type of division he's going to play in. He's going to come up against, as Jonathan said, defending in the Bundesliga is really poor. Yeah, there's more low blocks in the Premier League. There's more nasty fullbacks in the Premier League that will give him nasty tackles, that will get into him rather than allowing him the space that he's had in the Bundesliga. So it might take him a bit of time to get used to it. But I was very impressed with him last night. Yeah, he was good.
I think. Sorry, Benny. I think what Charlie was saying about the Italians as Spinazzola is absolutely right. But the flip side of the Italians is you've got two masters of the art of defending in Bonucci and Chiellini. So it doesn't really matter so much whether there's a gap on the left-hand side because those two are absolutely masterful in organising and positional play, as was demonstrated, and they've demonstrated throughout this tournament. And they must have a combined age of about 6,000. I mean, they're fucking old, aren't they? But when we talk about defending, age has no bounds. Because if you are clever positionally, it's the way forward. It really is. You don't need to have a speedy centre back. I've said this before. The problem with us at the moment is, and I'm kind of with Charlie on this one with regards to a good or a bad thing with Sancho and Wan-Bissaka. On paper, the combination is quite mouth-watering. But years and years ago, when you used to play with what is known as conventional wingers, where you'd have a 4-4-2 situation, I mean, the idea of the fullback was never to really cross the halfway line anyway. But if he did, you would always have a winger that would be in a position to be able to cover you if we lost the ball and a break occurred. Sancho probably wouldn't do that. Not that I've seen. I mean, I may be wrong there, but
no, you're right, Stu.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't think he would do that, and that would be a slight issue for me. But that's something that they can work with. One thing I do think, though, is that having Sancho coming into the England squad now, he's got 3 or 4 of our players alongside him. I think it'd be a nice and easy transition into pre-season with him, and I think it'd be an easy transition into the first team. I thought, like Charlie, he had an exceptional first half. I really did think he was brilliant in the first half. He did slightly tail off in the second half, but that will be down to lack of football. People will say, well, he's been training every day, etc., etc., etc. But it's not. Game time and training is completely different. And so that's probably, he was probably a bit tired, Charlie, to be honest, mate. I would say. Yeah. I know it sounds a bit stupid, but match play is, as you well know, Charlie, is different to training. The intensity is a lot higher and stuff of that nature. So, but I'm really excited, Benny. I wasn't, as you well know, at the very beginning of the season when, because I didn't think he had a great start to the season, but I'm quite happy to swallow, my humble pie on that one.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Listen, we've got a decent player there. I know time's ticking, but I just wanted to get your opinions on Harry Kane, if I may. He's got a brace today. Still in the running for Golden Boot, really, isn't he? Because I think
he's put himself in the running.
Exactly. All of a sudden. I was just going to ask. I'll come to you first, Stu. I was just going to ask. Are we starting to finally see Harry Kane at his best? Maybe he's got himself out that mind. I'm sure that him leaving Spurs and his next destination has been on his mind, and it might be playing on him a little bit. Do you think now the shackles are sort of off a little bit in terms of Harry Kane? And Are we now? In a way, is Gareth Southgate maybe identified that he wasn't playing earlier on in the tournament to Harry Kane's strength, and maybe we are a little bit more by getting balls into the box?
England doesn't suit Harry Kane's style of play. Charlie picked up on this a couple of weeks ago, actually. The first show I think I did with you in the Euros, Charlie. You picked up on it and you were absolutely 100% correct. The way that we play, or the way that Southgate plays, doesn't suit Harry Kane. When he's playing with Son at Spurs, it's a little bit different because he's had game time with him for 3 or 4 seasons, so they kind of know each other. When you're coming into the England environment, although players know each other and they know each other's games, etc., it's still a different environment to work in. And we just haven't utilised Harry Kane until such times as Grealish, has come on and dug out crosses for him and things of that nature. But what Sterling tends to do, Sterling tends to see, or his eyes tend to light up. It just reminds me of a kid in a sweet shop, really, Sterling. And he doesn't necessarily look for the runs that Kane does. Although I know what everyone's going to tell me. He popped him in for the first goal last night. He did, but that's an isolated incident throughout this tournament. So I feel a bit sorry for Harry Kane. Charlie's right. He was very poor at the beginning, but I do believe, I'm not so sure Kane's the type of player that would let transfer business get on his mind or speculation get on his mind. I think he's too professional for that. And I know when you hear him speak, same as Jordan Henderson playing for his country, it's the be all and end all for him. It's a proud moment for him. So I don't think that transfer speculation would bother him. I just think it's the way that we've used him or not used him. And I think over the last couple of games, we've finally started to use Harry Kane to the best of his abilities, and he's scoring goals. We'll need to do that on Wednesday.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. Charlie,
I can't really add too much to what Charlie said, to be honest.
Yeah. Charlie, any more to add to the points of Harry Kane, mate?
Yeah, well, I think in the first few games, Harry Kane, was doing what he's done for Spurs all season, dropping very, very deep, almost, people say almost as an attacking midfielder, almost as a central midfielder, even as a central defensive midfielder at times. He was in those, he was in sort of on the halfway line at times, dropping in for passes. And that really it can be a problem if there's nobody in the box. And you see the goal he scored against Germany and the two goals he got last night, in the box. That's where Harry Kane comes alive. When he gets a chance for Spurs in the box, he normally takes it. And, he scored different types of goals, against Germany. It was actually quite a tough header, actually. It was a really, really good finish. And the first goal last night with his, with his right foot, with the outside of his right foot, and then the second goal with a header. So, he's a box in the box. He's just so deadly, isn't he? And he had that volley as well, which nearly ended up in the top corner, which is unbelievable. But I think, Luke Shaw to Harry Kane, Grealish to Harry Kane. That left-hand side of England's has been so productive. I think more or less. I think the only goal that didn't come from that left-hand side, because even the free kick, wasn't it, from Maguire's header, was from the left, wasn't it? So every single goal, I think, apart from the first one, Sterling's goal against Croatia, has come from the left-hand side, which, the corner for Henderson.
Corner was right. Yeah, it was right, wasn't it? Yeah,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I think England have scored, 9 goals or something so far? They've scored about 9 goals so far, I think. Something like that.
So, yeah.
8 goals or 8 goals, and I think 6 of them have come from the left-hand side. And there's no sort of that's not a surprise, considering Walker's told to sit. Shaw can go, Sterling can go, and when Grealish comes on, he can go forward and make an impact. So, Harry Kane in the box, in the 6-yard area, deadly. That's where he gets his goals. Of course, he can score from outside the box as well, but he was dropping far too deep in the first few games for me. He's just not effective there. We've got other players who can do that job. If Mason Mount can do that job, he can play in that role. So just let Harry Kane get in the box, get crosses into him with Shaw, and let him head the ball in the back of the net, and let's win on Wednesday night.
Headers, old school. There's been some real old school goals, hasn't there, this tournament?
Well, to be fair, the Harry Maguire header, you can actually hear him properly headed that ball. Boom!
I
Great, yeah.
I was a bit worried at first because I thought he was offside, but it's only on the replay I noticed that whoever was their right back or their right-sided player towards the end of the train, so to speak, kept him on side slightly, didn't he? But it's Harry Kane's second goal. I could see the build-up play. As soon as that cross went in, as soon as it left Shaw's boot, that was it. I was up. Goal. Everyone's what's he done? And then suddenly, I saw it was absolute fucking pin. Get in. Lovely. To
say
see.
One more thing on Ukraine, though. Ukraine were defensively, they were awful. Absolutely awful. The first goal was awful defending. The second goal was poor. The third goal was terrible. And what was the fourth goal? Who scored the fourth goal?
Jordan.
Jordan.
Yeah, but if he missed it, there was somebody else behind. I think it was Maguire again, but it was behind him.
So we don't get too carried away scoring 4 goals. Against Denmark, I'd be very surprised if they defend like that.
I think the Ukrainians, honestly, Charlie and Ben, I thought the get me words out in a minute. The Ukrainians, I just thought they were knackered. I mean, they
looked out on their feet, didn't they?
Out on their extra time against Sweden, didn't they? So, the other night. So.
And it's the first time I've noticed the ref look at his watch and thought, I'll take pity on you.
Call it a day.
Call it a day. I think the Ukrainians were like, oh, thank fuck for that, because they got nothing left, had they? Bless them. They got absolutely nothing left.
They did a great job to get to the quarters, though.
Fantastic. Fair play to him. Fair play to Shevchenko,
Yeah.
I think he's done a really top job there, to be honest with you. I know time's ticking on, and we could talk forever, but I do want to get these lads' opinion on who they think the England's best player has been so far this tournament. Stu, I mean, I know we don't like to pick individuals out, but I just wanted to get a gauge of sort of if our choices match the social people on social media. Really,
well, I'm not going to be controversial on this because I don't think we've had a standout player. If I'm being honest with you, I couldn't pick a standout footballer. Luke Shaw's been great when he's been in. Saka was great. When he's played. Thought Sancho had a great first half. Kane's been great last couple of games. Sterling, I suppose, is going to be the more popular choice for it, I would guess, because he really has, I suppose, been the one that's been on it for since the opening game. Mount's been good when he's played. Foden's been rubbish. Calvin Phillips has been good. Declan Rice has been excellent. So I think it would be, for me, if I was to pick a player out, I think I'm just doing it for the sake of picking a player out. So for me, I wouldn't be able to tell you, Benny, if I'm being honest, pal.
No, I totally respect that, man. I can totally understand that, pal. But I would have got to Charlie with the same question. Maybe Charlie might feel the same way as you, or maybe he does have a player in mind, Charlie.
I've got two answers. I've got two different categories. The most important player for England so far has been Sterling, and I think the best performer on the pitch has been Luke Shaw in terms of his average performances. If you were to rate every game he's played out of 10, I think the highest performer would be Shaw. So I think Luke Shaw's been the best performer. But if you were to say to me for the Denmark game, right, there's going to be one player who's injured or suspended for that game, who would be the last player you'd want to pick? And honestly, I would pick Sterling. I know people would say Maguire. I know some people would say Pickford. Obviously, even though we said about Pickford, he's a very important, because if Pickford didn't play, you look at the goalkeepers that are on the bench. Johnston, okay, perhaps, but Ramsdale, that it's quite a big downgrade, I think. So I'd say Sterling has been the most important, but I think Luke Shaw's been the highest. If you were to rate all the performances out of 10 so far, I think Luke Shaw would be the highest. So I think Luke Shaw's been England's best performer so far.
But here's your caveat, though, Charlie. And your opinion's absolutely spot on. But that's you rating it out of 10. Like you would do normal player ratings. But if you actually forgot the player rating side of it, it's actually better to not be able to pick out a standout.
Exactly, you're right. Yeah,
because it means that everybody's playing as a collective. So I take you, and I understand your categories, and that's why I think conventional wisdom people would say Sterling, because he's kind of been at it, hasn't he? You know, a couple of goals, etc. And I understand the player ratings of. I don't like player ratings, by the way.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not keen on the ones on websites. I don't mind making my own ones because everyone has different categories. Like some people, you know, for example, last night's game, Harry Kane. Some people might give him a 9 or a 10 out of 10, which is fair enough. But his actual overall game was perhaps more of an 8 out of 10 or a 7 out of 7.5.
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
Right.
You know, it's.
And I suppose from that point of view, I couldn't really pick one out, and I like that. I prefer not to be able to pick. I'm not a huge fan, by the way, of man of the match either.
No, I understand that. Yeah.
I mean, I might have played football once or twice, and and I may have received it, but I'm not really a huge. I understand that individual players can have influences. And that's great. You should be able to influence a game of football, but I'm not really sure you should be able to influence it to such an extent where you get an award for it. Because again, you're in this. So I'm not a huge favour of man of the match, but at the end of the day, I would rather have a difficult choice picking a standout player, because I would be worried if in every game we had one standout player. I'd be worried about that, because it does mean that other players aren't pulling their weight. You need to pull your weight in football.
Yeah. Right, I want to wrap the show up anyway, because we have been well over an hour. But finally, I know there's going to be a pre-match show on Wednesday before the England game, but just for fun way to end the show, I'm going to ask for score predictions on Wednesday's semi-final. I know Stu just rolled his eyes there. Going, Ben, what are you doing? Yeah, but I thought it might be a fun way to end the show. You know, whether Stu's confident, we're going to see how confident Stu is now. Score prediction for Wednesday, pal. I know. I'm sorry for putting you through this so early on.
I'm going to say 1-1, full time. Extra time. I'm going to go 2-1 to us in extra time.
2-1 in extra time.
It will be extra time. I cannot see Denmark not scoring. I really can't. And I think, we're not going to beat Denmark 3-0. I can't see us doing that.
Brown Knight's saying that Spain beats Italy 2-1 as well, which is quite.
Well, I think we might go through 2-1, and I'm going to say that we will we will meet Italy in the final. That would be my prediction. 2-1 extra time, England, and Harry Kane to score both.
I think Jonathan Ball is going 1-0 or penalties. I think I'm assuming that's to England. Charlie, what we're saying, mate?
Well, I've been wrong, I think, on every single prediction I've done the last few weeks. I said Denmark to win 3-0 yesterday. At least they won. But I think that England will narrowly win 1-0.
No, tip Denmark, Charlie. Tip Denmark. Come on.
And I think Spain and Italy, I think Spinazzola will be a big loss for Italy. I think that will be big. There's just something about Spain. They've just snuck their way in, haven't they? You know, just through penalty. They've just snuck their way in. They've got a very good manager. I think Spain. I think it'll be very close, but I think Italy will win. I think it'll be Italy and England. And obviously, if it goes Italy and England, I don't think there's a favourite for that game because of England playing at Wembley. I don't think there's a favourite on an underdog. I really don't. I just think I think it's going to be that much of a close game. I just can't see. I can't see that being decided in 90 minutes. But yeah, I'm going 1-0 England.
Oh God! So there you go.
Denmark will win 4-0.
You've heard it here first. The kiss of death by Charlie. Oh God! It's like Ben. Don't put a bet on. Come on,
mate. No, I was about to say. To be fair, nothing could be any worse than my 200-1 prediction of Scotland to win the Euros. Well, 5 each way as well. But then again, my Harry Maguire bet came through last night. You know, £175 for Harry Maguire to score a header. So you know,
did you? No.
But to be fair, boys, listen, I'm going to go 2-1 England. I consider Danes scoring. I can see England conceding in this game. I think the Danes will score at some point. Sure. But I still think England have got enough in the tank to beat them. and I think we'll meet Italy in the final. I really do. And that'll be one hell of a final, I think. But as you said, that Spinazzola, I hope he pronounced his name right. That's a huge loss for Italy, though.
Fuck, he's going to be out. He's broke. Well, they said he broke his Achilles. I thought you could only rupture it. I don't know.
That'll be a few months. That will
be a few months.
He's out till Christmas, isn't he? At least at the earliest. Yeah. Achilles is a nasty injury. Luckily, I've never experienced that. But it's I know few people that have.
Yeah,
it's fucking nasty. Yeah, that's what I thought, Jonathan. A rupture or a tear. I didn't think you could break it, but I saw broken.
I saw broken something or other. Yeah.
Why could you break your Achilles? But actually, Jonathan did make one of my kind of sayings. He said, "Man of the match is like a beauty contest type thing." It's he's right. I don't think those are exact words, but I know what he meant. But I would say exactly the same. It's a fucking beauty contest. You got man of the match, whatever. Move on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
man of the match.
Anyway, I shall end it here anyway because it has
sorry,
gone but to be fair, we're right on that high crest wave. That's why the show's gone on a bit longer than normal. But Ben can shoot me later if it's a problem. But anyway, football may just be coming home, gentlemen. We shall see. Wednesday night, it's going to be a really good game. And we'll see you in the next one. Thank you, Stu. Once again, your insight, I can listen to you all day, mate. This is why these shows rumble on. And Charlie also, I said in a message to Stu yesterday that you're the younger version of Stu.
Yeah.
Honestly, your footballing knowledge is fantastic. And I could listen to you all day long as well, mate.
He's better looking than me as well.
Yeah.
There's no beauty contest on the top. I love you really, Benny. You know that.
But I agree with you. Charlie was the beauty contest, hand down. And on that note, we shall end it there. Thank you, everyone, in the comments. Thank you for watching. Thank you to these two great guests. And we shall see you in the next one.